Hi there, and greetings from a beautiful little tropical island in Indonesia. Not such a bad place to be on a day like this. So, this video is titled, God Doesn't Care If You Follow the Rules. And I came up with the title for this video a while ago, and then came across an article just a few days ago that perfectly exemplifies what I was speaking to, what I was thinking about with this concept. And it was an article titled, Does Practicing Yoga Make You a Hindu? And it was exploring the prevalence of yoga and how it is being practiced by people from many different faiths these days, and in particular focused on a woman who was a Muslim who practiced yoga. And I forget if she had been practicing it in private or not, but anyway, at some point then she decided she wanted to be a yoga teacher, and she announced this to her family. And her family was not very happy about this, to say the least. Was extremely discouraging. And so the article delved into this further, whether practicing various spiritual practices from different faiths goes against God or not. And to me, this is profoundly absurd and misunderstanding what, in my personal subjective opinion, God truly wants for human beings, which is that God wants us to be happy and to be loving and to be open-minded and open-hearted. And beyond that, how you practice your devotion and your compassion for the world and your gratitude for life is completely and totally up to you. God does not care if you are a Hindu or a Muslim or a Buddhist or a Christian or a Jew or a pagan or an atheist or a Wiccan. My best friend is an atheist, and he's one of the most kind-hearted, open-minded, loving, compassionate, honest, fun, creative people that I know. God does not care what particular spiritual practice you choose to adopt, or which particular belief system you espouse, whether it's the 108 precepts of Buddhism, or the 5 pillars of Islam, or the 10 commandments of Christianity. It is perfectly possible to follow all of those rules and yet still be an unkind, horrible person. In my opinion, what God really cares about is that you are loving. And that's really it. Beyond that, it's up to you. It's open to interpretation. Your personal point of view is valid and is part of the quest for truth. And simply looking to an authority to tell you what to do and which rules to follow is part of the human control system that certain authorities use to control the masses of humanity. So I realize this will sound controversial to some, but here are my thoughts on practicing yoga. Whether you are a Hindu or a Muslim, a Buddhist or a Christian, a Jew or a New Ager, an atheist or a pagan or a Wiccan, it is my heartfelt belief that God does not care whatsoever what position you put your body in. God does not mind if you sit in a cross-legged position. God does not mind if you practice this mudra, or this mudra, or this mudra, or this mudra. God doesn't mind if you raise your hands over your head and do rapid breathing. God doesn't mind if you put your hands behind your back. God has absolutely no problems with plank position, or even doing push-ups while you're at it. God doesn't mind if you do a headstand or a handstand. God has no problems whatsoever with warrior position. God doesn't mind if you swirl your arms around backwards or forwards. God doesn't mind if you do jumping jacks. God really does not care if you stand on one leg. And I'll tell you what else I am quite certain God does not have a problem with. God does not mind if you sit in a meditative pose, eyes closed, looking inwards, observing your thoughts, seeking self-knowledge and inner peace. God doesn't have a problem with that. I certainly don't mean to disrespect any religious tradition or spiritual path. I see some element of truth in all major religions, and certainly see the value in adopting a particular spiritual path or technique for the purposes of self-knowledge and coming closer to the divine, however you see it. The problem is that as soon as you get stuck on following a set of rules, then you lose your own internal guidance system and your own unique perspective. And it is my belief that our individual unique perspective is honored and valued, that it is important to have multiple different perspectives, that you get closer to truth the more different points of view you have on the mystery of life and the world and the universe and the quest for truth and knowledge. People can follow a set of rules that are supposedly designed to bring people closer to what God desires, and yet go profoundly against God's desires. And I'll give one extreme example, which is honor killings. Think about that. If you have children, and one of those children, say a woman, has sex out of wedlock, commits an act of love with another individual without happening to be married to them, then God approves of you killing that person in order to protect the honor of your family. I cannot think of a more heinous act and a greater transgression against what God wishes for human beings than this concept. This is a perfect example of human beings following a set of rules supposedly intended to bring people closer to God, which results in the most horrible acts that human beings can possibly commit against one another. And that is, of course, a very extreme example, but the point is, following a set of rules does not guarantee that there is love and compassion in your heart. And it is my belief that that is what God really cares about. The desire and intention of living life from a place of love is the best guide that you can possibly have to getting closer to truth and to God. So whether you practice yoga, whether you practice meditation, whether you practice Tai Chi or Qigong or Falun Gong or karate or wrestling or swimming or running or judo or gymnastics or skydiving or hang gliding or motorcycling, whatever you happen to enjoy doing that brings joy and a connection to life and to your own inner essence to you is fine, as long as you are doing these actions, this activity, from a place of love and respect and kindness and consideration and compassion and awareness and consciousness for the other people around you, the animals around you, the earth, the environment, to the energy, the essence, the spiritual light of God. And that intention alone will bring you much closer to what God truly desires than following any particular set of rules. That's my point of view. Thanks for watching, and speaking of swimming, it's time to hop in that water. Take care.